Hey, I'm Chris.
And I'm Cherie, and we're Tech Nomadia.
Ding.
And we live in a bus.
Okay.
Welcome to our monthly live video chat. If you're joining us, today is April 26th. It's
April
approximately 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. If that is matching what your clock is saying.
Central Daylight Time, sorry.
Central Daylight.
Yes.
Then you are joining us live, and you'll be able to interact with us on the chat screen. If it is not the time, then you're watching an archive, and, well, you can't interact with us.
You can chat with yourself.
Well, and that's not probably not as much fun. But we do encourage you to join one of our future live video chats. You can find out our chat schedule at technomadia.com/video. And you can also sign up for our email list to be notified when we schedule one of these. So we just pick a topic. This is our fun way to share.
Right. We do this very informally. We are not using fancy microphones. We're not using fancy gear. We are doing this as simple as possible to keep it as fun as possible. And so we appreciate not hearing comments about you should have had mics and you should have had a professional light and maybe you know the makeup crew missed a spot. Well, you're on the wrong podcast channel or the wrong video channel.
We're casual. We're just us. We're not. This is our gift. We just like to share about topics that we get asked about all the time, and this is just a fun way for us to share about it without having to sit down and write a 400-page post about it.
Which we'll do anyway, probably.
Which we already did anyway. So if you're following along, tonight's topic is the costs of full-time RVing. And we actually do have an article on this. If you want to follow along, you can go to technomadia.com/costlog. And there is a link there at the bottom on the Livestream channel if that's how you're tuning in.
And we've been keeping a cost log going back how long?
I think I started actually publishing it in 2009. So we started full-time RVing in 2006, or Chris did solo and I joined him shortly thereafter. And we actually started, we keep a Google spreadsheet where we record our monthly travel expenses. So we only there report the things directly related to full-time travel, so campground fees, fuel, connectivity costs, and insurance.
And then our basic overall life costs too, but not the variable things like food and entertainment and stuff like that, because that's not relevant to.
So you can go back and look through several years of data of ours, but please do keep in mind it's just ours.
Right. What
it costs a full-time RV, it's a really difficult question to ask because it can cost you whatever you want it to cost. And we know people that are doing this on $500, $700 a month, and we know people that are spending $5,000 a month doing this.
And that is kind of the ultimate lesson that we're going to try and get into your head through the course of this
video.
There
are so many choices that you can make that will impact how much it's going to cost you and how flexible you are in your style of travel.
Right.
And that's what we're going to be going over today, is what some of those variables are and how those can impact your overall bottom line, and how being flexible and adaptable, you are actually in a lot of control, and it can change on a monthly basis how much it costs. And that's what I really love about this lifestyle. It's just how flexible it is. So I actually made some notes so we can try to keep on topic.
Kind of winging this. We just put this together a few minutes ago.
So one of the questions we get a lot is full-time RVing going to be cheaper than living a stationary life like in a house or an apartment?
Because some people set out, that's their appeal. It's like, oh, I could save so much money living in an RV, maybe, and you can. But it depends.
You'll notice a lot of our answers to questions is it depends. So full-time RVing can cost a wide range of variables of how much it's going to cost you per month. Living in a stationary life can also cost you a high range. Are you sharing a one-bedroom apartment with 6 of your friends in a low-rent district? Well, you might be paying under $100 a month in that case. Well, then it's going to be hard to beat that. Are you living in a 5,000 square foot oceanfront home in a highly desirable area? You're probably paying a lot, and you can probably scale down. Most of us are probably somewhere in between.
When I hit the road, I was leaving behind a downtown San Francisco apartment, which I believe now, 9 years later, would actually probably be even more outrageous. But even 9 years ago, it was thousands of dollars a month to live where I lived. So hitting the road for me was much, much cheaper. That's not why I did it, but it really worked out that way.
And I had a beachside home in Florida that I shared with my ex, and it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, about a half mile from the beach, and obviously, living on the road is a lot cheaper most months for me than it was living that sort of lifestyle. But compared to when I lived in apartments when I was younger, some months we actually spend more than I might have spent in those days. It really just depends upon your lifestyle choices. Just like you can live in the same neighborhood and rent an apartment or buy a McMansion, you're going to have a wide variety of costs living stationary. Same on the road.
But the ways that you balance your costs on the road are quite different. So some people who make the transition, they think they can keep living like they lived in their stationary life, and then they're completely caught off guard. Like, oh my God, this is so much more expensive than I expected it to be. Well, you're not doing it right in that case.
Well, no, you're not doing it right.
If
you're not doing
trying to keep your budget down.
Yes,
yeah.
there are ways
Right.
that you can make this a lot more affordable, and you can make it cheaper even than some of the more lower cost stationary living. So we're going to go over some of these. You can make your own decision about where you want to save your costs. So first cost of full-time RVing is your upfront cost to get started.
Yes.
There's obviously, if you're full-time RVing, you need to own an RV. Pretty simple.
Yeah, I think you actually do. It'd be kind of really, you'd be completely blowing your costs out of the water if you try to rent one and live in it full time. That's
unless you have a relative you can rent one from. You're probably going to be buying an RV, either paying cash for it up front or financing one and having a monthly cost to pay on your RV. So you're going to be buying an RV, whether that's a travel trailer, a fifth wheel, a motorhome, a Class A, a bus conversion, a van conversion, whatever your style is. There's a whole range of RV choices out there. You can buy them as cheap as a couple $100 if you go find a really sweet deal. You can spend $1 million on an RV if you go up to a marathon converted Prevost or a Newell or something like that. Most of us, again,
a lot less.
Somewhere in between. So you can go out there and shop. We could probably do a whole series on shopping for an RV.
And then the important thing that a lot of people forget is once you have the RV, particularly if you're going to be living in it full time, you have to make it yours. You have to do what it takes to make this your living space. And a lot of people don't factor that cost in advance.
It's very unlikely that you're going to buy an RV and it's going to be exactly what you want, whether you make those changes before you hit the road or 6 months down the road. You're probably going to have some sort of modification you make. Maybe it's adding solar panels and more batteries so that you can do more off-grid camping.
Maybe it's ripping out a dinette and putting in a desk.
Maybe it's getting rid of the paisley fabric that came with it so that you can have something more...
that you could stand to look at.
Whatever those are, you're probably going to be making some adjustments. You're probably also going to be purchasing some tech, mobile tech to go along with it. If you had a desktop computer, you might find that you want a laptop. You probably need some Wi-Fi repeating gear, or some cellular gear, some boosters. There's going to be some upfront tech.
Yeah, the stuff that you have in your house might not necessarily transition over easily. So
there's also a lot of RV-specific gear, sewer hoses, drinking water hoses, leveling blocks, all these other sorts of things that your RVs probably may or may not come with when you purchase it, that you might need to purchase to make RVing sustainable, livable. And then if you have the RV, whether you go with a towable, like a travel trailer or a fifth wheel, or a motorhome, like a Class A or a bus conversion, you might also want some way to either tow your RV or to tow behind your RV so you have local transportation.
We've run across a lot of people who think, I'm getting this great fifth wheel and I got such a great deal on the fifth wheel, and then they realize they need to go buy a $40,000 truck.
Or $60,000 truck.
To even begin to move their house around. And then they have this huge sticker shock. They thought they were going to have such a cheap life with the fifth wheel, and they didn't have a truck. Oops.
Or their truck was not heavy enough to actually, they buy the heavy, or they get wooed in by this fifth wheel that they want. It's bigger, it's got slides, it's heavier now, so now they need a bigger truck.
Yes. Then the very first time they try to go up a hill, their old truck dies, and they're like, we should have.
Or they don't have enough braking power. And then if you're towing a vehicle behind your motorhome, either way, you're going to need to have a tow package of some sort. So towing equipment and stuff like that. And that can be a couple $1,000s. You might need supplemental braking on your tow vehicle. That's going to cost you some money. So there are upfront costs of getting outfitted to hit the road.
And some people also fall prey to, they don't realize that the vehicle they have is not suitable for being a tow. They might see somebody else's, they're towing that around. They've got one. But like in the case of a Mini Cooper, the one with a manual transmission can be towed with, it's got an automatic transmission. It cannot be towed behind an RV.
At least flat.
Yeah, towed flat.
Then you have to go get a trailer that has a whole other set of complications. So think this stuff
these
out
things through. Do your homework in advance.
Also, there might be some expenses involved with exiting your existing lifestyle. So you might have to sell your house. I actually lost about $20,000 when I lost my house, when I sold my house, because the housing market in my area had gone down. So I had to pay money out of my pocket to sell my house and get rid of having a mortgage payment. Hopefully, the real estate market has improved in most areas. That's not as much of a concern. But if you don't have a lot of equity in your house to sell it in the time period that you want to, there may be costs, or there may be costs to getting it ready to sell,
or ready to find a renter, and all that stuff too.
If you might need to hire an estate broker to help you sell everything, they'll probably take a lot on commissions on their stuff that they sell, but that is a cost. And you might decide to get a storage unit to store some of your stuff if you're not ready to get rid of everything. So you might have moving expenses to move your stuff into a storage unit. So those are some of the upfront costs. Of course, also when buying your automobile and RV, there's going to be your taxation and registration fees for your state. Don't forget that sales tax.
It can make a big difference. You actually might want to plan changing your domicile before you buy an RV just to avoid certain taxes. That's one.
No. If you're doing things to avoid, that's illegal.
But well, you're doing it anyway. But you're just putting things in the correct order.
Time it. So if you're buying your RV now and you're not hitting the road for a year, you're going to have to register it in your current city. But if you're buying the RV like right after you sell the house, it may make sense to register it in your new state of domicile with more advantageous taxation rules.
Right.
So think those things through. All these things can add up. I mean, the registration cost in one state could be substantially higher than in a different state. I mean, like thousands of dollars. There's some reasons that states without income tax are able to do it is because they charge a lot on the sales tax or registration fees of new vehicles. All right, so those are kind of the upfront costs of getting started. Let's talk about the fixed monthly costs on the road.
Yeah, these are the things you pay every month regardless, and just like your bills back at home, but now mobile.
Now mobile. So you've got rid of the house. You no longer have a house payment, or maybe you do, and hopefully someone's covering it for you. But you're still going to have an insurance. You're going to need insurance on your RV, on your automobile,
your health,
and your health.
Right.
Your vehicle insurance for your RV. It's a little bit different than just going out and getting RV insurance. If you're like with, you might call your insurance agent now and say, "Hey, I bought this RV." They're fine, and we'll insure it. But it may not be full-timers insurance. You need to make sure you have full-timers insurance. And this is kind of like a combination of a renter's or homeowner's policy in with an RV insurance policy.
Right. So it gives you some liability coverage, covers your belongings to more of an extent than just a vehicle policy would. Definitely look in to make sure you got the kind of coverage that will give you what you need. Right.
A lot of RV policies, like if you just go and insure it as a recreational vehicle, they're rated based upon you not spending the majority of your time in it. It's rated for you going out a couple weeks a year on vacation in it. It's not rated for you living in it full time. So the RV full-timers policies aren't necessarily a lot more expensive, but they are different policies, and there's only a few companies that offer them. So make sure you're working with an agent that is full-timer aware. There's several of them out there. We work with Epic Insurance. They're out of South Dakota, but they cover most of the full-timer friendly states. There's Miller's, there's Poliseek, and there's several others out there that are specialists in full-timers insurance. And make sure you're working with one of them. For health insurance,
that gets tricky on the road. We've had a whole hour-long video on that.
Yes, so check technomadia.com/healthcare. There's a whole bunch of links. We've written about this to a whole bunch of stuff. You're going to have to shop for a policy that is friendly for your lifestyle. Not all health insurance policies are going to cover you nationwide as an in-network expense, and that can be critical for handling health care on the road. So if go research more of that. We did do an hour video chat. I actually teamed up with Nina of Wheeling It back in November, and we followed that one.
Yep, it's great content.
Registration cost for your vehicle. You're going to have an annual renewal cost for your tags. Your state of domicile choice is going to have an impact on how much that's going to cost you. Some states charge by the pound, like South Dakota. So having a motor vehicle or a motorhome is more expensive to be registered in the state of South Dakota. Whereas some of our states, it's just a flat rate based upon the type of vehicle.
In some states, you can actually get lifetime registration if you have a small enough trailer.
Or older vehicle, like Montana. If it's over 10 years, I think you can get a lifetime registration or something.
Like that.
So there's
look into the rules.
There are different states that offer different advantages. Also, your insurance rates are going to be impacted by where you insure them at. So when you're shopping around and figuring out what your costs are going to be, starting with what state of domicile you choose. And we do have an article on that, technomad.com/domicile, that goes over a lot of those considerations. And one of them is what your costs are going to be by these choices.
Mail forwarding?
Yes.
Let's get onto that. So, yeah, you now no longer have a mailbox in front of your house. You're going to have to pay somebody to handle your mail. It's not expensive, but it's something you have to factor in.
Right. So there's professional companies that can act as your legal address. We use one in Florida. We're domiciled in Florida, so we use one called St. Brendan's Isle. They actually scan our mail online. We read it online, and then we can tell them what to do with it. Forced to Mary, our production assistants, your sister handles it for you, Mary?
Yes.
So
she's expensive, right? Relatives usually have catches involved.
So we pay about $20 a month for our service to be for scanning, and then that you pay postage on top of that for it to actually forward it to you when you have an address. Yep. I don't know how much you're paying your sister. Wine.
See?
That adds up.
That does.
That adds up.
A storage unit, if you still have a spot to stick your stuff, well, in the catch with storage units, we did a whole other thing on when I emptied my storage unit, finally got rid of the storage unit. But the storage units, they hook you. They get you with a cheap rate for a year. And then they know that it's such a big project to get rid of a storage unit that they start jacking up the prices. And so my storage unit more than doubled in price
over the years. And of course, if you're across country, it's even more of a difficulty to get back. So we actually cleared out our storage unit, your storage unit, like a year and a half ago. So we finally got rid of that cost. It was getting up to like $150 a month for stuff that you never touched.
Hadn't seen in 5-6 years because we were on the opposite coast. And
I was like, I think you had paid more in storage fees than the value of the stuff that was in there.
It's true.
So if you're keeping a house, a home base, you don't want to sell the house, you may have costs associated with that. Property managers, if you're renting it out, upkeep costs, homeowners fees, insurance, taxes, all that sort of stuff. Keep those in mind.
This is a big expense that if you're kind of a full-timer that's still keeping an anchor into having a home base to go back to, that could cost you a lot. So definitely think that through.
Some people want to hold on to the house for the first year, so make sure they really want the lifestyle.
Right.
And then sell the house later. My house didn't sell the first year that we're on the road. We were in a housing crash. So I actually continued paying my mortgage for the first year while we were on the road, and then sold it. Got really aggressive in selling. It was ready to say, hey, it's probably, this economy is not going to turn around anytime soon. It's going to cost me how much money to keep it for 2 more years until I might be able to break even. It's like, that's what I'm willing to lose.
Sell it to anyone.
To get rid of it, to get away from that commitment. Connectivity costs.
Yes.
Mobile connectivity. It's not as simple as just going to your cable company and subscribing for $50 a month to have internet. Mobile internet, if you're reliant on it, is costly.
And particularly if you want to have redundancy and have multiple ways online, then you've got multiple bills to deal with.
It's a tricky one. And we're actually wearing our uniforms today, our mobile and connected t-shirts. We actually, one of the websites we run is RVmobileinternet.com. And we have a book called the Mobile Internet Handbook that goes over a lot of these stuff. We currently spend $175 a month for our connectivity. That's dirt cheap as far as for the connectivity we have, because you know why? We've paid attention to the industry over the last 9 years and have snagged deals when we could on unlimited plans.
And for us, that's the equivalent of what would have been a cable bill and a cell phone bill and connectivity back at a home place. So it's really not all that much more expensive when you factor in all the value we get out of it.
But if you're just starting out today, you probably cannot snag the deals we did. So you're probably going to be paying a lot more to have reliable
depending
internet.
On what levels you have to adjust and calibrate.
Right. So you can spend as little as $50 a month for a small plan just to keep up with email. You can spend hundreds of dollars a month to have enough bandwidth to do things like video streaming like we're doing here. If it wasn't for our unlimited plan, we wouldn't be able to do these.
Right.
Another fixed monthly cost is if you finance your RV. Of course, your monthly payment on the RV is also going to be one of your fixed monthly costs. We paid cash for ours, so we don't have a monthly cost. All in all, for us right now, with all these expenses that we just talked about, we're paying $877 a month for our connectivity, health insurance, vehicle insurance, and registrations and mail forwarding. So
not too bad, actually.
No. So not too bad for when you look at it that way.
For 2 people. Yeah.
All right. Next section is the variable cost. Now, this is the stuff I love about this lifestyle.
There's so much you can control.
So unlike living stationary, you have a mortgage or a rent payment that you have a contract that you're paying on the same amount every single month, and you have to make that much money to pay that fee every single month. So you have a lot more fixed cost when you're stationary.
So when you're living on the road, you've got almost infinite control over how much you're spending on rent, in a sense. You can control your campground fees and you can control your fuel to an incredible degree. So we call it putting rent in the tank. It's part of it.
So it's great for those of us that we're entrepreneurs, we're self-employed. Our income can vary a lot from month to month, depending on how hard we want to work and how much our projects are paying off, which makes it great. If we're having a low income month, well, we know how to go into low expenditure. We don't drive many miles. We might find a cheaper monthly campground. We might even go volunteer our time in exchange for a campsite so that we are reducing our monthly living costs. If we're doing well, then we'll go off. We'll maybe do a cross-country repositioning or go do an RV resort if we want to.
Or it's usually not whether we're doing well or not, but we have that flexibility. We can do things just because it's interesting or not and can adjust the cost. We've got these two different wheels we could turn.
So if you look at our cost log at technomatity.com/cost log, you'll notice that I have the average monthly cost on there. So we don't really pay as much attention to the monthly cost it's going to be because that can swing widely. We more look at what it's going to cost us on an average per month. So the beginning of this year, we did a lot of boondocking out in the Southwest. We didn't drive many miles. We stayed for a lot of places for free on public lands. And now we're doing a cross-country repositioning where we're spending more on fuel and campground costs. And it all balances out. I think, what is it? It was like $280 a month combined with fuel. And it's a great way to balance it out throughout the year. If you look through our past years, it all balances out. So some months might be really expensive and other months we compensate and to help balance out those expenses. Let's go ahead and break down some of these. Fuel costs, like Chris says, you got to look at it as pouring fuel into the tank.
Put rent into the tank.
Yeah, sorry. Pouring rent into the tank. Fuel is no longer something that drives your commuting or doing errands around town.
I used to have to drive 100 miles every single day when I was working.
You're crazy, man.
Oh, it was absolutely crazy. They paid me a lot for it, but it was, I didn't have a choice. I had to drive. That's why I had a Prius, so I was able to control it somewhat, the cost of that. But I had those miles to do. Now, we went the entire month of January or February. We barely drove 20, 30 miles.
No,
so,
we
did more than that, but it was our weekly average was almost nothing.
Right. So you look at fuel now as it's a housing expense.
Right.
It is money to move your house. Now, your motorhome, a lot of people freak out when they hear about, oh my gosh, a motorhome only gets 7 miles to the gallon, and that's good. It's moving a house.
Right.
It is not driving your Prius to work.
Right.
It's a different type of expenditure, and it's one you have complete control over. We typically travel maybe 6,000 to 8,000 miles a year. Figure that out. What was our annual last year? You gotta click over there. Okay. I want to say it was under $3,000. It was $4,000 last year we spent, and that averaged it out to $344 a month last year that we spent on fuel. That's pretty darn cheap rent, guys. Yep. You combine that with our campground fees.
Looks like we averaged last year $385 a month.
Which we're going to do a lot better this year because we added the solar.
Right. This year, gosh, we've got months with no campground fees.
So last year, our average monthly rent, which we consider combining fuel and camping, was $729 a month. Now, I used to live in a house where I had a mortgage payment of $1,800 a month. Your apartment was $2,400
a month. Yeah.
And we're not sacrificing out here on the road. I mean, this is those costs at $700 a month is with us out even thinking about trying to save money. Mm-hmm. This is us staying in places with amazing views. Right now, we're looking at some gorgeous hills in the middle of Missouri, rural Missouri, over a vineyard. We've had oceanfront spots. We've had places out in amazing forests and cliffs and rock dwellings. These are $1 million views that we could never afford to own property or rent property at. And we're doing this for $700 a month last year.
On average, it works out amazingly.
So we look at it as pretty darn cheap for the quality of places we get to live at. So some of the ways you can control your fuel costs is, of course, how many miles you drive.
Right. You don't need to see the entire country in 1 year.
That's the biggest mistake we see a lot of people set off with is they try to do too many miles in the first year or two. And it's stressful on the body. It's stressful on the mind. You have no time to yourself. Stressful on your rig. It's stressful for driving, and it's costly because you're also paying nightly campground fees, which we'll get to in just a moment. But also, fuel prices vary a lot. different states tax fuel differently.
Mm-hmm.
So you can cross the state line and save money, or
quite a lot of money sometimes.
Or if you just look ahead to what the taxation is going to be on it. Look at things like Gas Buddy as an app or a website. You can go and look at what fuel is. And, you know, unlike living in a stationary area where you're looking at what the fuel costs in your neighborhood,
you could plan ahead. So, you know, particularly with RVs have very big tanks, you could say, oh, well, you know, maybe I'll get my fuel 200 miles down the road instead of 400 because I'll be passing through a state with really cheap diesel tax.
Or you can find those rare stations sometimes along the line that are 20 cents cheaper than everyone else around them. And if they're 20 miles on your journey out of town, well, that's no big deal to go another 20 miles. So, it's not like living stationary where that's an out-of-the-way trip to go get fuel. It can be something that you plan on the way. So you can save a lot of money just by looking ahead on your routing as where's the best price to get gas. For
example, like we're currently in Missouri, we know to absolutely fill our tank before we leave the state of Missouri because this is one of the cheapest states out there.
Once we get to Illinois and Indiana, the taxation's a lot higher.
Right.
So there's lots of ways to control your fuel costs, and a lot of people get really spooked out when fuel costs start to rise. And yes, paying more for the same thing, that sucks. But if you look at how much it actually impacts your budget for the fuel to go up 20 or 30 cents,
it doesn't add up that much.
It really doesn't, and you can adjust it by driving a few less miles, going out to dinner once or less a month. It's really, really easy to offset a rising fuel cost. Now we are loving that right now. Fuel's about $1 cheaper
than it was a year ago,
and that's saving us $100 a fill up.
And one other way RVers can really control their fuel costs is if you have a towed or something or an alternative way of getting around, you're not always driving around in a vehicle that gets 6.5, 7 miles a gallon. If you're towing something that gets 30, 40 miles a gallon, that's where the bulk of your daily driving happens. And that can, by getting a fuel efficient towed, you could save a ton of fuel.
So we will reposition in the bus, get us situated somewhere. And then we use our Mini Cooper, which gets 30, 35 miles to the gallon, to go explore around our area. And so sometimes we'll even park it and go drive 200 or 300 miles to go visit somebody, stay overnight with them, and then come back.
We don't have to always take the bus with us.
On top of fuel, there's also maintenance costs on your RV and vehicles. Don't forget those. Those are very important. It's not like,
It's cheaper when you plan ahead.
Keep on top of your preventative maintenance. Know what the type of vehicle you're buying, how much it's going to cost you to maintain it. Don't forget tires. Tires, you need to replace those every 6 or 7 years at a minimum. Keep on top of those. Know the health of them. Know how to read date codes to know when you need to replace your tires. Those can be very expensive. And if you just budget ahead for them, it's a lot easier. And know what your engine, your fuel, your filters are going to cost, your oil changes. That's one of the big differences between a gas vehicle and a diesel vehicle. Can be those costs.
Maintenance costs definitely add up on a diesel.
Yes. Campground fees, another highly variable thing. So when you are shopping for a house or an apartment, you're looking at what the monthly cost is going to be for you to live in that house. And if you pick a house that's going to cost you, let's say, $1,500 a month for your mortgage payment or rent payment, well, that's what you're going to be paying pretty much for the life of your time there.
It doesn't go down.
What's the cool thing about RVing is you can choose the differences on a daily basis. There are so many styles of ways of camping and living in places in an RV, from free to living in resorts and high tourist areas.
And also you've got a lot of control over the timing of it. So places that might be very expensive for a 2 or 3 night stay, if you get a month stay there, we've seen places that the cost of 2 weeks of daily rates would be, you could stay for an entire month if you did a monthly rate. The types of RV parking, there's resorts, or commercial RV parks that are out there. You can be paying anywhere between $20 to $90 a night to stay in them. Like if you can go more expensive than that, you can go down and stay in Key West during the winter. You can be paying $1,500 a month in some of those resorts down there. There's some places that are over $2,000 a month for an RV spot.
And then there's public campgrounds, state parks, national campgrounds, county parks, city parks, things like that. Sometimes they can be as cheap as $5 a night. They can be $30 a night. We've seen them up to $50 a night in some places. There's all styles of it. And then there's free options like boondocking.
spent much of this winter out boondocking on public land, and it was wonderful.
Yes, we had a whole series on boondocking if you want to go check the archives on that. The location of where you're camping can make a huge difference. If you're in rural areas, it can be cheaper. If you want to be closer to a city center that's urban, it can be a lot more expensive.
Yeah. And then then there's ways to get cheaper and cheaper camping is to take advantage of some of the discount clubs that are out there.
We did last month's video chat was on the RV clubs and which ones to join, but just a quick recap. Passport America can save you 50% at some commercial campgrounds. Escapees offers discounts.
If you know you're going to be staying at particular types of places, there's membership clubs like Thousand Trails and stuff.
And RPI, and you guys are members of Coast to Coast. Right. So there's all sorts of options for that. There's also we're all staying at a winery right now. We're all members of Harvest Host, so we pay $40 a year to be a member, and we get access to staying for free at wineries. Not really free, we buy wine.
Yes. Free. but okay, you pay for the campground, you get free wine. You think of it that way, it works out.
Yeah, free wine with campground purchase. Yes. It's a lot easier to look at it that way.
Harvest Host is great.
Some of the other free options, of course, is boondocking on public lands. But before you can boondock, you're going to have some upfront cost in outfitting your RV to be boondock abled, whether you're running a generator and putting fuel into that generator,
or solar panels
and ample batteries and inverters,
batteries and such for that,
or living very minimalist without the amenities of having electricity or things like that. So there are expenses involved with having some of those free camping options. You can also volunteer your time.
Yeah, so we spent the last 2 years, we've spent a month each fall volunteering at Cape Blanco Lighthouse. So we get a free, amazing, full hookup camp spot, and all we have to do is tell people about a lighthouse.
Yeah, we volunteered 17 hours a week each, got a free site, Oceanside. It was wonderful. There's also a lot of camp hosting opportunities out there, from helping people get checked into their sites, cleaning bathrooms, yard maintenance around campgrounds.
Some of them are great deals, and some of them, if you actually do the math, they're really kind of ripping you off. But just look at them.
Taking advantage of you.
Yes.
Taking advantage.
Taking advantage of you, yes.
But there are some great ways that you can reduce your campground fees by, if you're willing to trade some of your time for your campground spot. There's also driveway surfing. That's staying with friends and family who have land to park you, or they don't have RV ordinances that might not allow it. We just spent 3 nights with some friends, Forrest, Mary, and I. You can also join Boondockers Welcome is an organization that matches you up.
So they'll introduce you to strangers who have places that are eager to meet RVers passing through.
So those are great. One of the gotchas with RV campgrounds that you probably do want to think ahead is if you want to stay in prime locations in a high season, so like Key West in the winter, or
Cedar Key.
Or Cedar Key, or going up to like near a national park, near Yellowstone or something in the summer months, is you may have to pre-reserve your site in advance and put up a sizable deposit. So that can impact your cost now. So you may be paying for your campground fees today and also putting up that deposit for 3 or 4 months down the road.
Or a year down the road. So, I mean, a lot of people, for their seasonal spots, to get their favorite spot, they prepay a year in advance.
All right. If you've got questions, now is a good time to go ahead and start queuing those up.
Forrest is on
So we're gonna do the last little section here on daily costs. So if you've got questions, go ahead and queue up. That way we can move right into doing the Q&A. So day-to-day costs on the road. These are the things that you're going to be spending whether you're stationary or living on the road, but there are some things that can impact them. Groceries.
If you're stationary, you might know where to get the best deals. You're the best markets, the best places. When you're on the road, you're just kind of taking what you could find. You don't necessarily have quite as much control over finding your best deals.
And also when you're living in a home, you may have room to store bulk purchases. Yes. In an RV, you're going to have limited space. Mary here said earlier to me, she says, well, yeah, you can't buy bulk purchases when you're RV. Well, you can. You just might have to sleep on them. Yes. So you may not be able to get as many deals by buying bulks because you don't have the storage space. But your grocery expenses are going to probably be somewhat similar to what you spend now.
Yeah.
It
Same
really
ballpark.
it comes down to your own dietary preferences. You may find some fluctuations in prices across the country. You may find that your favorite products aren't available in some places, but you may have to order them in or special order them. But by and large, I think our grocery expenses are
roughly comparable. Yeah.
And as far as dining out too, I mean, if you dine out a lot, you may be tempted to dine out more as you're visiting a new location just to sample the best barbecue in the area, the best whatever the area is known for.
People who set off RVing, particularly the first year, tend to get into a trap of thinking they're on vacation and they have to do all the touristy things. And well, of course, that's going to impact your costs.
They eat out a lot more.
Yep.
Laundry is a day-to-day expense that you might have to think about differently. If you're used to having your own laundry center in your home, when you're on the road, you might have a laundry in your RV. You're going to be having to have some full hookups or lots of dump station fees to keep up with that laundry. Or you're going to a laundromat. So the laundry expenses for laundromats, I mean, you might be paying $3 or $4 a load to do them. More importantly is the quarters. Is making sure you have quarters on board, because not all laundromats that you get to necessarily have a change machine. So having those quarters on board is really important.
Quarters make a great gift for RVers.
Clothing in your wardrobe. I mean, we all, unless you're living at a nudist park all the time, you probably have some clothing that you're going to want to have.
And even the nudists dress up on occasion.
On occasion. Yeah. The difference is you have a limited storage area in your RV. So your wardrobe needs to be really highly functional. You're going to be visiting a variety of climates, variety of activities that you're going to want to go to.
Less space to keep
and
it
less
all in.
space. So you're going to have to think through your wardrobe a little more. You're not going to have as many options on board, but you're going to have to meet some more variabilities than you might be used to. We do a lot of thrift shopping to get a lot of our clothing to keep it variable. We love thrift shopping. It's fun, and it's a great way to
cycle things out.
Yeah, when we get to a new place, like, oh, we're going to go spend the summer in Oregon where it's going to be cold. Well, we go to a thrift store, get some more sweaters, and then we donate them back on our way out. And it's a really affordable way to keep our then we have our stock stuff. Like, obviously we don't get our mobile and connected shirts at the thrift store. Entertainment.
That it's actually, entertainment on the road, I don't think it's any really different.
Actually, I do find it a lot different.
Really?
So when I live stationary, I would look ahead to what events I wanted to go to, or planning vacations. You know, I put away money so I could go do a big vacation every year or two. When I'm on the road, we often are finding out about a cool thing to go do, whether it's a museum or park, a tour we want to do, or maybe it's a festival we want to attend. We find out about them as we're going. And we find that the entertainment budget is something that is more spread out over time than necessarily something in big points. So I've just found that having kind of a cycling entertainment budget, because just so you have the flexibility to go and attend things as you encounter them on the road.
Just always have a little fun stuck aside. Yeah.
And of course, technology, that's a big expense for us.
Yeah, we got to buy the toys.
Got to have the toys. Yeah. So that should give you a good overview, I think, of some of the costs of living on the road and some of the choices that you can make that influence it.
And keep your questions coming. I think you've got a few already queued up.
I need a beverage.
There you go. I guess this is now actually the appropriate time to open tonight's wine selection. So
we are staying at Wynwood Winery. So we bought a bottle of their wine tonight, or actually that was purchased for us by someone.
Yes.
And we love wine. It is one of the things that we enjoy. And if you do appreciate these video chats, we do appreciate contributions to our wine fund. There is a leave a tip button at the bottom of every page on the blog, technomadia.com. And if you feel like shooting us a bottle of wine virtually.
Virtual bottles of wine are appreciated but not expected. But we really do love them. So thank you if you send one.
And it helps us host our...
I want to spray a little bit.
Yes. All right. What questions do we have pending?
Okay, I'm going to actually start with one of the later ones because it's talking about the whole budget. Is your budget spreadsheet your entire budget or just travel expenses?
Yes. So the question was, is the budget on technomadia.costlog, is it our entire budget? No, it is not our entire budget. That is just the things that we feel are... related to RV travel. So we do not disclose our groceries and our day-to-day and our entertainment. We feel those... No one's in business but our own.
Go back to one of the earlier questions. Cindy said, Bob from Cheap RV Living posted regarding taxes for full-timers. he brought up unemployment benefits. What are your thoughts about that for full-timers who work?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Unemployment benefits? I mean,
Yeah.
when I first was on the road, I was still getting unemployment from being laid off in Silicon Valley, but once I was past that, I wasn't still getting it. Yeah. It's if you have it, don't take advantage of the system, but take advantage of what's rightfully yours. So
I have heard from some folks who go intentionally getting seasonal jobs and then file for the unemployment when that season has ended. I personally, it's not something I could do, and you've got to ask your own conscience if you're good with that.
Mm-hmm.
Could you mention the names of full-time RV insurance companies or agents again?
So full-time RV insurance agents, the ones we know.
Yeah. Ours is Epic Insurance.
And then there's Miller's, and then Poliseek. But yeah, you should be able to find this pretty easy online.
Good Sam.
Good Sam.
Okay.
If you like Good Sam.
Yeah.
It's what we went with because it was clear and present, and we needed something that offered us full-time coverage.
Okay.
And the price wasn't awful.
Yeah, Good Sam has good resources sometimes.
Is receiving snail mail really necessary?
Is receiving snail mail really necessary? There are certain things that will continue to come to you by snail mail. Jury summons. I just got one. Tax-related stuff. There's a lot of stuff.
Almost everything we get digitally, but they still want to have a mailing address for you.
Yes, you absolutely need a mailing address. Your driver's license, they're not going to let you use a P.O. box. You have to have a mailing address. Financial institutions, they require you to have a residential address. You can't even, most of the time, even get away with using just
sometimes it gets really complicated.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
most of our stuff
we
is
go months without having anything interesting come in the mail, but it's useful to have.
Yes.
This is a more specific question. You might just answer quickly. Is Millennicom no longer available?
Millennicom, that's old news. Yes, they're no longer available. Check rvmobileinternet.com. Go to the news center. Click on the Millennicom tag, and you can read the whole drama on that.
It was a big collapse the end of last year, and Verizon basically has acquired all the Millennicom accounts.
Yes.
You could read the stories.
Yes, that was October. That was my October.
Yep.
Any update on contacting Mr. Musk regarding all-electric RV?
I tweet him every few weeks, and he always ignores me. I wonder if he's got me on a block list, but let him know. I mean, go out, Elon Musk on Twitter, tell him we want a Tesla RV, would just be awesome. I'm down. We campaign.
You guys obviously phased into your current RV setup by stair-stepping up from the Tab, Oliver, etc. If someone were going to jumpstart into your setup, what would the investment be?
Into a bus like this?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not a good idea to look at what we've done because we didn't stair step up to this.
Our bus is our cheapest. Actually, the bus is the cheapest of all the
RV
rigs we bought.
So we've just evolved our lifestyle. So our RV, for those of us who followed for a while, we started in a 16-foot travel trailer. We went to a 17-foot travel trailer, and then now the bus over our 9 years on the road. Each one of those RVs was the right choice for our time on the road, and they all serve different purposes.
Yes.
We don't look at it as a stair step. We don't look at it as evolving up to a better RV. It's a better RV for us.
At the time,
the bus, the cost of we bought our bus for $8,000. You can go read the entire history on it. We did a lot of research to find it.
And that was drivable and livable day one, but then we started putting a lot into it.
Yeah. We do, if you go look at technomati.com/Zephyr, you can see all the projects that we've done on it. We've revealed the costs on a lot of those. It's really looking at our case and what it cost us to have the RV where it's at the place is not a fair place to look at because we're different.
We've done a very unique RV, and we've done a lot of work ourselves, and we've also just done it's just very unique. It's not quite a
the RV that is right for you is the RV that is right for you, and you've got to really go out there and look at all the options, feel what is right for your style of travel, and just keep in mind that your first year on the road will be different than your third year on the road. You will change your style and leave yourself the flexibility in whatever you get when you first start off for that to be changed, because more than likely you're going to want to tweak something. You're going to learn a lot about yourself, and your style of travel will change. You'll go out of being more in vacation mode to more in living mode if you decide to stick with it long term.
And that's one thing we try to encourage people is not to get stuck. Some people put in, make a huge investment and get way underwater on a brand new RV, and 2 years into it, they're like, this isn't really what I want, but they can't sell it for what they're still owing in payments, and then I feel really sorry for them. It's think it through.
Yes.
Do you cover different states for domicile in your RV handbook?
Right. Well, we don't have an RV handbook. So the article is technomati.com/domicile, and that's for choosing your domicile. And we covered the top 3 only. Yeah. Texas, South Dakota, and Florida, and some of the pros and cons of them and the resources for getting set up there. There's reasons why those 3 tend to be the top 3. Is because they just offer the most all-around advantages to full-timers.
How do you plan and fund package deliveries?
Package deliveries like from Amazon and things like that is whenever we're at a campground for more than a few days. And
most campgrounds, even state parks we found, will take deliveries for you.
We've also, friends and family, when we're visiting a town, we'll have them delivered to us. Did you guys?
Yeah, we discovered that you can do general delivery to the closest town's post office.
Generally, they're the town's main branch.
Yep. So if you look at the United States Post Office, you look at the branches around you, they'll be marked general delivery or not, and you can have packages sent there. Just be careful with those. If you don't pick them up within 7 days, they can return them. And we have encountered some problems with it, and they sometimes, it generally works.
If the company sends it FedEx
yes,
instead.
if the company, like on Amazon, it's really hard to trick their system into sending by United States Post Office and not FedEx or UPS. Right. So you really have to know the way that it's being shipped.
Yeah. And ask around to other full-timers and stuff, because there's often a local place, like we were in Anza Borrego, and the local Ace Hardware would accept packages for all the RVers boondocking out in the desert, so you didn't have to deal with general delivery to get your Amazon. Then Ace was just doing it out of the goodness of their heart, because they'd bring customers in and maybe buy some hardware.
You renovated an older RV. I have to imagine the cost of a new RV is less economical than an older one, or which is more economical?
Okay. The old versus new RV. We actually will probably at some point do one of these chats just on shopping for an RV for full timing. We renovated an older one. You can go buy a new one. I think at this point we're up to about $80,000 we've put into RV. Now remember, we've done solar, we've done lithium, we've done a lot of stuff custom to us.
Put in a new
and
engine,
that's over,
basically.
We had to do a new engine in it. So that's over 4 years. You can go and buy a new RV for $1 million. You can go buy a new RV for $80,000 and have it fall apart on you in the first year. Not that Forrest knows anything about that.
Buying new does not necessarily mean buying quality. Sometimes you want somebody else to shake the bugs out.
Yeah, and the sweet spot is either buy something that's 2 or 3 years old, that's higher quality, that all the bugs have been shooken out, or go back and buy the highest end RV from the 90s or 80s.
Yeah, go back 20 years ago, and you can get the stuff that had the great bones is still going to be showing it, and that's the best deals.
Yeah,
truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we did.
Now we got 2 examples.
But it has mauve furniture.
But it has mauve furniture.
So does ours.
I'll tell you, the number one tip for buying a 90s RV is be colorblind.
Be colorblind.
Or be willing to change it out. This was our bus was converted in the 80s, so it also had a lot of mauve in it, and we had Project D Pink. And we've gotten pretty good. We've gotten rid of most of it.
You can cover up fabric with other fabric pretty easily.
For the first 6 months we lived in our bus, the countertops were mauve. We just painted them.
Yeah.
Until we decided on the color palette that
and then
we were
did
going
a new
on inside.
Yeah, but you could paint countertops and you could paint walls, and you can't really paint fabric, but you can cover fabric.
Is it difficult to find a used RV that is reliable?
Is it difficult to find a used RV that's reliable?
It's just as hard as finding a new RV that's reliable.
It's finding an RV that is reliable.
Yeah.
Is you really have to go do your research. Go look at the user. If you're looking at a certain brand and model, go find the user group for it online and read the posts from the problems that people typically have. Now, keep in mind, people don't go post the good stuff.
Right.
When I had a great day today with nothing broke.
Right.
They don't post that stuff.
And even no matter whether you get a used or a new RV, just understand in advance that things will break, and that's not the end of the world.
Right. Things will break. Whether you have a new RV, an old RV, it's going to break. You have a house that is under constant earthquake conditions. It is the nature of the game. You're going to be maintaining them. You're going to be fixing them up.
And a lot of the breaks are not really big deals. It's like, okay.
Like you guys had a no, it was the people we had lunch with today. They said their first air brake went out.
They had an air hose break and they freaked out, and it turned out to be no big deal whatsoever.
Yeah, it's just
a bay full of water.
Yeah, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of the calamities on the road. Yes. If you can use a credit card to get out of it, it's not a problem. It's not. Yeah. I mean, the things you want is safety and reliability. Yeah. Make sure you're up on your preventative maintenance on your braking systems. Yeah. On your seat belts and things like that, because
over the course of a year or 2 or 3, the ongoing maintenance costs on RV are not that much. You just have to be prepared for the occasional spikes, and they usually come when you least expect it. And so expect that it will come when you least expect it.
Can I say something on
sure.
Because we just shopped for a used RV about 4 months ago, and we found that we're not mechanically inclined. We don't know how to work on it.
Do you want to swing in and just have your face on the camera for a second?
Sure, yeah. Swing in if that's what you want.
Yeah. So this is Kelly. He just hit the road with...
Hello. So we bought a 1993 Fleetwood Pace Arrow in December, started full timing at the beginning of April. We've been on the road for 23 days. So maybe take what I'm saying with a little bit of a grain of salt. But we've done a ton of research, but life on the road has a way of showing that the research is only research. Anyway, we looked at a ton of units, and we don't know anything about cars. We don't know how to look at a drivetrain, but we could tell that there were some units that were just not workable and some that were. We test drove a mid-90s diesel from Safari, and we also found that the propane tank was about to fall out because it was completely rusted through. It didn't take a genius to figure out that that was not a reliable vehicle. We got the one that we have now, which is, like I said, the 93 Fleetwood, and not a spot of rust on the whole body. And we threw new tires on it immediately, but we don't have a whole lot of money in the RV. So as a result, anything that crops up is really just to be expected. So you can. And
for 23 days, it's been reliable.
All kinds of stuff is broken. I mean, we've had poor winterizing issues, pipe bays full of water, circuits that get blown because of holes in the roof. I mean,
that's not too bad for 23 days.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got at least 11 more months to find out all the other stuff that can go wrong. But ultimately, a good degree of your own judgment will be able to tell you, like, this is probably something you should walk away from. You can just get a sense of how well something is built just by walking through it
and see a lot of them.
Yeah, go look at lots of RVs and get a real feeling for what they feel like and the differences in quality and how they age. If you're looking at getting a new RV or a newer one, go look at that same comparable brand and model that's 5 or 10 years older and see how they age over time. That's one thing you can go and do. As far as getting an RV inspection on it, it could be a good thing, especially if you can get an inspector who will go through and teach you about it. But don't expect them to catch everything. We just had some friends. They just bought a fifth wheel. They paid for an inspection, and they just found out there's a whole bunch of water damage in it. And there's water leaking into the walls and things like that. So, they're dealing with a lot of unexpected issues, and they went and paid for an inspection too that gave them an all clear on it.
We actually polled the internet, which is always a reliable way of information, and we asked a bunch of the RV Facebook groups in poll form, should we spend money on an inspection? I mean, I should say we spent $6,500 on this RV. It's 22 years old. We knew what was wrong with it when we got it, and the majority of people said, save the money for the inspection. For the repairs, you're going to have to do anyway. Yes. Trust your own judgment. There's no rust on it. The wheels exist. There's actually an engine under the hood.
It starts up.
Yeah, often on the first try, sometimes on the second, but always on the second. So we just got told, if you're spending more on it, maybe, but since we're buying something that's so old, just spend the money.
All right.
I'll duck out.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get some more questions in here.
You mentioned budgeting for tires. I'm getting ready to put new tires on my RV and can get off-brand for $1,200 or name brand cost up to $4,000. Any reason not to go with off-brand?
I've not done a ton of tire research, but I think the main lesson I hear from other RVers and stuff is you're better off with tires that are newer than just people have name brand tires that are they let them sit for 10 years, and that's the bad thing. You're not putting a ton of miles on tires as an RVer.
But go read reviews on them. Go look for recalls. Go ask people that
have used that tire. You're considering.
Go. It's not like your life doesn't depend on it.
Yeah, the tires are so critical though. They're really. I mean, if you have a blowout, it can be a really bad day.
Right. So look into because look into the reviews on the tires and where they're made, because sometimes the name brand and the off-brand tires are coming from the exact same place. It's just what they've printed on the side, and that's fine. But if you got the off-brand tire that nobody's ever reviewed, you don't want to be the first person to drive down the road with that tire.
Yes.
First person to survive to write it.
Yes.
What percentage of the time do you boondock?
What percentage of the time do we boondock? So it's varied a lot over the years. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. It changes. We
like to vary things up.
We're variable. We base our travels around people and places we want to be, with people and events we want to go to. If boondocking fits in there, it's great. We love boondocking. If we end up doing 20 to 30% a year, we're feeling good about it.
Yeah. It's really hard to say. I mean, we did some months straight of boondocking, and then we've done plenty of months straight of not. So,
do you recommend one route or the other in boondocking for generator versus solar?
Go solar. No one likes a generator.
Yeah, I mean, if you do the math, generators make a lot of sense, but they're not pleasant. I mean, even a really quiet generator. I mean, I guess some people are just generator deaf and they can't hear them. Whereas other people are very, very sensitive to generators, and I just don't like to be near generators. And whereas solar is just kind of magic and wonderful, and the generator is still there as a backup emergency. The sun didn't come up today.
No, if you're just going out boondocking for a couple nights here and there, it's not worth getting solar. Mm-hmm. If you're planning to do lots of boondocking where you're going to be out there days on end,
the solar will make you happy.
The solar, it's not just about cost savings with solar, and you can't really look at it. Now, solar is getting cheap enough now that you can actually see some payoff for it over time. But that's, for us, it's about the passive energy collection. It's about not having to listen to a generator.
Not having to think about starting or stopping
or keeping
a
it maintained or things like that.
Yeah.
We just love the passive nature of the solar, and it's quiet.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask a question about that, actually?
Sure.
We talked about this before, but we haven't gotten the chance to boondock yet, but
you're boondocking right now.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. And we ran the generator to make lunch, and it was the worst, and it smelled, and it's loud, and I hate it.
Okay.
But like, we're trying to think of like, well, what's the minimum viable solar install? Because
that's a whole nother topic.
Sorry.
Yeah. We'll talk to you after.
We did a video chat on solar back in December, so that's a whole other video chat.
Sorry.
What does it cost to have your mail scanned?
I think what does it cost to have our mail scan? I think they charge us 10 cents a page.
They charge the outside of the envelope automatically, and then if you want to have them open it, then it's, I think, 10 cents a page. It's not so much that we don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's minimal.
Returning to the Tesla question. Now that Tesla has sourced their patents, do you think it'll be feasible to do-it-yourself build a Tesla-like floor-integrated battery package to retrofit one's Class B RV?
I don't think that their patents are necessarily applicable there. The patents would apply if you wanted to go into mass produce something. There's always been inventors doing...
Talk to your audience,
Talk to the audience, not to forest. There's always been inventors doing cool stuff. I'd love to see some people do some cool electric RVs. I've only heard of one electric RV out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there doing EV, electric vehicle conversions. Right. I would not put it past them to also be doing small van conversions, too.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun, actually.
Several people made a point when you were talking about mail and packages that you also have Amazon lockers.
They're not very perfect. They're not very. There's not many of them though.
Yeah, eventually that could be kind of cool, but we've not run across a place where an Amazon locker has been convenient for us yet, and the campground offices usually are. So.
A promotional opportunity. Do you have a lithium-ion battery video or a solar video?
So do we have a lithium video of, if you go look at the video archives, whether here on YouTube for this play stream or go to Technomadia/video, there is a lithium one, and we also have a whole series on lithium, Technomadia/lithium, and there's also a whole series on solar, Technomadia.com/solar.
Yes, we've had a full dedicated video on solar was in December, I think.
Yeah, and the lithium, I think, is about a year old.
Yep.
Are the monthly RV park costs monthly rates or just for time you spend there? Do you typically stay a month at a time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's...
So a monthly cost at an RV park, they have a monthly rate, which is usually about somewhere between the cost of 2.5 weeks if you were paying a daily rate.
Yeah.
It's somewhere around there. So and then you paid for the month. If you leave early, you're not going to get a discount or a refund on it.
Usually not.
Sometimes if you extend beyond it, the RV park will go back to the daily rate. We've had some where they'll just keep
giving the monthly
whatever
rate even for extra days.
Whatever the prorated is. So we've sometimes made the decision of there's a park. Sometimes we just don't like to stay a month. A month is a long time for us to stay in one place. But the monthly, when we look at it, if we're going to stay there more than 2 weeks, we'll just go ahead and take the monthly, and then
if we decide to leave early, we have the flexibility to do so, and we're still saving money.
So we did that this past winter. We stayed at Sam's Family Spa down in Desert Hot Springs, where the monthly spot was like $540 a month, and included unlimited soaking
hot spring access.
So it was a daily rate of $50 a day, or the weekly was $300 a week. So we looked at it now $540 for a month. The way we looked at it is if we got more than $600 value, which would have been a 2-week stay, or $540 value at the daily rate, we ended up staying 4 weeks and got a lot of value. But we would have been comfortable leaving after like 2.5 weeks if we got bored. How can you get bored at Hot Springs?
Eventually, probably would have. But yeah, it was perfect.
What has been your biggest obstacle as full-timers?
Biggest obstacles, full-timers.
We might have initially said connectivity, but that's gotten a lot easier over the years.
I think initially it was the social side of RVing.
Yeah, the social life is tough.
You leave behind a known community. You go out to dinner with the same people all the time. You have them over for gaming nights or movie marathon nights, and you lose that on the road because you're not always. Wait, but I am always seeing the same people.
Yeah, now here we are.
Six of us in one room now.
Yeah, the social life is kind of happening. Social life and connectivity have both gotten a lot easier.
But social does take time to build up because you have to adapt the way that you look at socializing, because you're not going to be seeing the same people all the time. You're going to be crossing paths. You're going to be meeting up with friends and families. You visit them in their towns, and it takes a while to meet other RVers in your path. That's why we helped with our village last year and launching it. It's because social was such a critical part of our lives. And that to hopefully help people meet friends on the road. We use a lot through social media. I mean, honestly, we meet more people through our existing social media, through the blog, Facebook, these video chats, and people knowing where we're at and inviting us to come stop by. We now have kind of some enough people that we now know on the road that we caravan with them. We've been with Forrest to Mary for the last week, really for the last 18 months.
You just keep bumping into the same people because it's you're following the weather and you're in the same orbits, and the people you like, you just keep getting back together.
Yeah. So social used to be the biggest obstacle. Today, I almost sometimes wish that we didn't have as much of it and we could get more alone time. But we also love our friends. So.
Yeah. Someone says, I lean toward a truck camper as my RV of choice due to the places I like to go. I'll be giving up space. Even though a truck camper is not your choice of RV, what are your thoughts on truck campers in general?
Truck campers are cool.
I've been inside some really awesome truck campers, and yeah, you definitely can go some really cool places. So
yeah, if that's your style, that's your style. There's go with what you want. It doesn't matter what we think about your RV. We're not in it.
Just the thing is, look for the good, well-built brands. I've seen some truck campers I've actually seen truck campers literally fall through the floor, like off their jacks and stuff. And then there's some other ones, do some research in the truck camper communities. Find the brands that are built to last, because there's some really awesome ones out there.
Is there a website that gives ratings for how fast the internet is at various RV campgrounds?
No, is there ratings for how fast the internet is?
Wish.
No, there is not a central location to know how fast the internet is. And it's also going to vary by how you're connecting to that internet source. But Campendium just launched, which is a new RV review park site that's run by some fellow full-timers of ours. Illuminarium is their blog. But Campendium, they actually are rating cell phone signal at each of the campgrounds, which is kind of cool. And of course, our app Coverage, which is for iPhone and iPad, shows you where cellular signals should be found in your travels. And we use that for picking. We actually didn't go to an RV park, one of the RV parks that Forrest and Mary and I were looking at, because there was no coverage there. Yep. And but we knew we had good odds here.
What should we expect to pay for an extended warranty?
I have extended warranties. We have a 1961 bus conversion. We are not eligible. So I have no information on extended warranties. I'm sorry.
Wouldn't it be fair to say that the cost of an RVing life are the same as a person's current costs, plus your parking, gas, and maintenance?
No, because you get rid of so many bills when you go on the road. So
is it fair to say that it's going to cost you the same? And it's not fair to say anything. Yes, it can. If you have a budget right now, $5,000 a month that you're spending on your housing, you can spend that on the road if you want to. It's going to cost you what it's going to cost you.
And if particularly if you ditch your fixed life, you can get rid of so many of the bills that were tied to that.
You don't have homeowner association fees. You don't have
cable
property
TV,
taxes,
and you don't have gardeners, and you don't have.
Yeah, I mean, you could totally sell your house, get rid of having a mortgage or rent payment,
right.
Go spend what cash you have on a cheap RV and not have a payment, and you can go boondock, and you can live for under $1,000 a month.
We know people who are primary boondockers who do aim for $500 a month.
Yeah, so it's not fair to say that. No, not at all.
Do you guys ever treat yourselves to a night's stay at a hotel?
Oh, hell no.
I've got my own bed.
Why would I want to? There's no treat in staying at a hotel.
Oh, gosh.
Staying at hotels is misery.
Yeah.
It's not your bed. I like my bed.
Yeah, I like having in my house. I like if we go to a hotel, we have to pack. We have been tempted on occasion to find a vacation rental by owner that would let we'd stay in our rig, but they had a hot tub. It's like, do you have a little house that has enough spot for the RV to pull up that we could get into your hot tub? No, we don't want to use the house. You don't even have to give us keys to the house. And we've been tempted to call for that on occasion, just because a hot tub would be worth going out of our way for.
Will you ever try the live aboard sailing again?
Again?
Oh.
I've lived aboard sailing before.
I want to try it.
We do consider doing boating in the future. It's something that's on our radar.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's going to be something anytime soon. Just
we're
because
going to do live aboard boating this
on
summer.
a cruise ship is not the same as live aboard
7.
sailing.
We're taking a cruise this summer.
If someone is making my bed every morning, that's not live aboard sailing. It is something that intrigues us, but it's not something that is high on our priority list. There's a whole other cost of entry to live aboard sailing, a whole cost of both in buying it and learning, and it's a lifestyle change, and it's just not one that I feel
when we're ready for it, we'll do it, and it's not a rush.
Any thoughts on wind power?
We've talked about that before, I think, in one of our other chats and stuff. But wind power is most of the places you'll go in an RV is not very practical, and there's a very few places that have the constant wind. If you're doing live aboard sailing, on the other hand, most places you are with a sailboat, you've got constant wind, so wind power makes a lot of sense.
If you're going to be spending a lot of your time in the places where wind is a good option, then it can make sense to have the overhead of carrying it around with you. For those of us that like the variety of stuff, well, I like variety, so we don't optimize for it.
And I think almost every RVer I've heard of who's done wind power has ended up ditching it after a year. It's just a big clunky thing,
and it's noisy.
And I think I think the internet's starting to tell us that maybe.
Yeah, so we're also running out of battery too. Yep. So let's maybe.
Any more questions?
Are there any more questions?
The other questions that are on here have been answered by other people answering each other's questions.
Well, that's awesome.
There's some helpful dialogue going on.
Okay. Are there any other questions for us?
No.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Then I guess we'll just thank everybody. We've had a nice, good hour and 10-minute chat here. So this is.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm saluting you with my water.
Yeah, we're going to pour the wine and share with everybody now. And but thank you for joining us on this beautiful day.
If you're not on our mailing list to get notifications, you can sign up at technomadia.com. Any of our subscribe buttons will allow you to also sign up for our video chat notifications. If you're watching this on an archive, we'd love to have you join us on a live one at some point. And of course, if you want to help fund the bottle of wine that we're having tonight, the tip jar is at the bottom of every page on the blog, or you can do YouTube fan funding. We do accept that as well. And
it encourages us to keep doing this.
And we do these for fun and chat, but obviously the feedback, both through comments and thanks and contributions, is what keeps us inspired to keep doing this every month. So
and if you see us headed your way, let us know.
Yes, so thank you, and we'll see you next month.